see hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top. Ain't no telephone bills. You'll always be home sweet home to me. Rockin' up Tennessee, rockin' up Tennessee, rockin' up
Sean, this is the gravest betrayal of American citizens this country has ever seen. The reason why those Americans in North Carolina, those mothers, those fathers, those precious little children, were left to die, were left on rooftops begging their government for help that never came, is because Kamala Harris turned FEMA into an illegal alien resettlement agency. Its manpower, its dollars, its resources, its mental energy was spent over the last 4 years learning how to do one thing, how to get illegal aliens from outside the country into your town. And so when disaster struck, they were not ready, they were not prepared, they were not capable, and they did not care. And our fellow citizens, including babies, children, young kids, were left to suffer and drown. They did not scramble the helicopters. They did not scramble the military. They did not send needed assistance. But if those children had been living in a foreign country, they've been living in Haiti, or they've been living in Venezuela, why then Kamala Harris would have sent in help immediately. A betrayal like we've never seen before, Sean. This is infuriating.
Infuriating does not even begin to describe it. In fact, Katrina doesn't even begin to describe it, precisely because unlike Katrina, this is deliberate. As Stephen Miller just said there, Kamala and Biden deliberately diverted FEMA funds to illegal migrants to the tune of over $1 billion, and now they're claiming they run out of money. We're going to see the latest outrage over the Harris administration's response to Hurricane Helene. And the one bright side in all of this, gang, is we're going to see how the election does appear to have shifted decisively away from this utterly incompetent, disastrous regime. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, your very angry, very upset host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you stay sane in these ridiculously insane times. So whatever you do, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button and share this video far and wide. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. You name it. If you're on Rumble, go on to YouTube and subscribe there. If you're on YouTube, go on over to our channel on Rumble and subscribe there. We need these videos, gang, in the hands of as many people as possible over the next 30 days to see the biggest blowout election imaginable. Also, just a quick reminder, if you want to ask me your questions, because YouTube has suspended our super chats, they've completely demonetized us. Just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. That's fight.turleytalks.com/join. You can join any level of support that you like, whatever works for you. And you have instant access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. So just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support that you like, and you can ask me all the questions that you like, and it'll be my honor to answer them on this live stream. Here is the New York Post's headline for today. The calm before the storm. Feds say there's no money left for hurricanes after spending $1.4 billion on illegal migrants. As I'm sure you all know by now, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, perhaps the single most incompetent human being in government today, and that's saying something. He set off outrage across the nation as he told reporters that FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, quote, does not have the funds to meet the needs of those victimized by the Hurricane Helene. And why? Why, pray tell, is FEMA only now telling us they don't have the funds to meet the needs of the tens of thousands ravaged by the floodwaters? Because they spent over $1 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. They spent over $1 billion of their funds on housing and transporting illegal migrants. All you have to do, actually, to confirm that is go to FEMA's own website. You don't have to go to any far-right platform to find this out. No, just go to FEMA's own government website, the Shelter and Services Program. It's called the SSP, administered by FEMA, expressly provides financial support to provide humanitarian services to, quote, non-citizen migrants. And between fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2024, they funneled more than $1 billion. There it is, right in front of you. They funneled in more than $1 billion into this SSP program. Again, this, we're looking at it right now, that is FEMA's own website. New York alone, New York City, they themselves were given $100 million of FEMA funds. New York City alone, $100 million. Oh, and you'll love this. You'll love this. Migrants in New York were offered $4,000. Yes, $4,000 as a stipend to help with expenses if they agreed to move out of New York City's overcrowded shelters. Now, remind me here, how much were the victims of Helene's flooding being offered? I know migrants in New York were being offered $4,000. That's pretty good. How much do you think the victims of Helene are being offered? Well, hey, let's let Cackles tell us herself. Go ahead, Cackles.
Relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like.
Yeah, you heard that. You heard it right. $750. $750. Unburdened by what has been. All those American families in Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Georgia, all those families ravaged by this storm, who saw their homes, their neighborhoods, their loved ones destroyed. They're all going to get a whole $750 to help them build their lives back. $4,000 for illegal migrants, $750 for the citizens of Western North Carolina. Here's Eric Trump speaking for us all.
Right now, there are 157 hotels in New York City that are completely full of illegal immigrants. Let me just repeat that number. 150 hotels in New York City that are completely full of illegal immigrants. New York City alone spends over $1 billion a year on illegal immigrants. And then you see these pictures of husbands and wives and children who have lost everything. Their homes have floated down rivers. Their homes have been taken out by mudslides. Their vehicles are gone. Their picture albums are destroyed. Every sentimental value that they could ever possibly imagine is gone. Will never be brought back. And what does Kamala do? She comes out and offers $750. $750. The TV in the person's house costs more than $750, and you see the absolute destruction. Sean, of all the political things that I've seen in the last decade, this is the one that bothers me the most. Hands down, by far. We have spent $200 billion sending money over to Ukraine and Russia to see young, innocent 21-year-old kids in dirty trenches pop around corners and shoot each other in the face with AK-47s. You watch these videos on YouTube, the lives are expunged in a matter of seconds. $200 billion America has sent over there. Yet we can't take care of our own in Georgia and North Carolina and Virginia and Florida. $750. We send billions to places like Pakistan. And they won't tell us that bin Laden is literally living next to their equivalent of West Point. Yet we offer devastated families, the very people you're showing on the screen right now, we offer devastated families $750. Sean, this is the worst administration in the history of the country. These aren't serious people. Frankly, I think they're cruel people. The way they put Americans last is absolutely cruel. And I hope every single person going to the polls on November 5th and before in early voting will remember exactly who these people are.
America last. That's exactly who these people are. They are America lastists. America lasters. It's I mean, the word diabolical just keeps coming to me. This isn't just incompetence. This isn't just indifference. This is diabolical. Here's what one victim of the flooding had to say to Jesse Waters.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. And I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see us himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. I mean, they keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us. So they're not for us. It's all about them. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us.
That was absolutely brilliant. God bless that young man, what he just said there, because that was absolute. There was more brilliance coming out of that 30-second clip than anything we see coming out of D.C. right now in the last 3.5 years. That was absolutely brilliant. You heard him. There's no longer we the people. That's dead. There is no we the people. There is no we the people. It's now us versus them. And they are not for us. They're only in this for themselves. Alejandro Mayorkas is only in this for his own financial and political benefit. No reason what. He's not in this to serve these people. He despises these people. We have an oligarchy that rules for their own benefit, for their own political and financial gain, and then they turn around and then they dictate to us what we need rather than listen to us. Remember, gang, that's what we talk about all the time on this channel here. That's the heart of my new book, Fight, How Trump and the MAGA Movement Are Changing the World. There is a new political realignment that's happening all over the world, where the old divide between the left versus right and the liberal versus conservative or Democrat versus Republican is being completely replaced by a new vertical divide between the people and the permanent political class, the ruled versus the rulers, the ordinary American versus the oligarch. And that young man expressed that powerfully and beautifully, that realignment that's happening. These politicians and bureaucrats are not here to serve. They are not our public servants. They only serve themselves. They're not representing your values, your interests, concerns. They are only out for themselves, for their own political and financial gain, and for the political and financial gain of their lackeys in the general population that vote for them and keep them in power. And gang, I got to tell you, this is precisely why now is the time, more than ever, for all of us to be absolutely intentional in considering where we are spending our money as patriots. That's because the amazing news here is that we really are seeing the rise of what's called a parallel economy rising up all around us, where patriot entrepreneurs are intentionally building a new civilization dedicated to faith, family, and freedom, and bypassing these freaks in DC. That's why you have all got to join me in attending the upcoming Public Square Parallel Economy Conference. It's in Orlando, Florida. It's on October 10th and 11th. They've got an absolutely amazing lineup. Don Trump Jr. will be there. Tucker's going to be there. Robert Kennedy's going to be there. Russell Brand will be there. Tulsi Gabbard's coming. And yours truly. We're going to have our own meet and greet there as well. This is your chance to see this new freedom civilization rising up firsthand. So if you click on that link in the description below, or you just scan that really cool QR code on the screen and use promo code Turley. Make sure you use promo code Turley, because you can actually get a free ticket to the event. You get to go for free. These things are normally $200, as I understand it. You get to go for free. That's how passionate I am about you guys diving into the parallel economy and taking back our country. So, and one qualification, please, gang, please don't just grab a ticket if you don't plan on coming. All right. This conference is for everyone who wants to build a new and long-lasting society and culture dedicated to faith, family, and freedom. But you got to be coming. Don't just grab the free ticket for the heck of it. All right. So make sure you register, put the promo code Turley in there. You're going to get a free ticket, and then we're going to together celebrate and see for ourselves firsthand a new civilization that's being built on the very foundations of faith, family, and freedom. I can't wait to see you in Orlando next week. Let's all get out there together. We're going to have a blast. And our meetup is just going to be so awesome. And yeah, you get to meet a couple other people too. Don Trump Jr., somebody, RFK. I hear they're famous people, but regardless. Now, obviously, the outrage over this whole Kamala KATRINA is making the building of the parallel economy all the more necessary. And of course, no one on the planet is building a parallel world more than the one and only Elon Musk. And he is absolutely livid over this. He's utterly outraged, as we all are. He's basically calling what our government is doing right now treason. He's calling it out. It's treason. He tweeted out, yes, they are literally using your tax dollars to import voters and disenfranchise you. It's happening right in front of your very eyes. And FEMA used up its budget ferrying illegals into the country instead of saving American lives. Treason. Treason. And he's absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what more and more people are calling it. This is treason. What you're looking at here, guys, do you have that? Yeah, you have that footage. Look at that. You see that? That's Kamala Harris's border. That's Kamala Harris's wide open, porous, treasonous border. And no matter what nonsense she and her supporters spew out of their mouths, what you're seeing is the reality. It is exemplative of a managerial class, a globalist elite aristocracy that simply could not possibly despise its own population more. Globalist politics, by definition, extend beyond the local, beyond the national, beyond the regional. It applies to populations 10 1,000 miles away, every bit as much as it applies to the citizens of the country, if not more so. Because that's what globalism is. It's a one-size-fits-all political and economic system that knows no frontiers, which means that foreign populations are every bit citizens of this globalist system, as are the formal regional citizens who pay the taxes that enable the globalist government to exist in the first place. Frankly, it's not even our taxes at this point. It's a system almost completely financed by foreign governments who buy up our debt and our treasuries. So that's the cash flow that our government ultimately relies on. They ultimately rely on foreign governments. They could care less about their own population and their paltry little tax base little things that we throw at them. It's just another way of saying that a globalist government is by definition a treasonous government. A globalist government, by definition, is a treasonous government. It's a government that has no qualms whatsoever in selling out its own people, its own borders, its own economy, its own culture, that it supposedly has been entrusted custodial care with. Globalist governments are, by definition, an enemy, both foreign and domestic. Elon is absolutely right. By the way, we just got word that Elon is going to be campaigning with President Trump. Did you see this? This just came out this morning. It's been confirmed that Elon will be attending Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday. Yes, the very location of J13, the first assassination attempt against President Trump's life from a very, very tolerant member of the left. Elon will be there along with the one and only Scott Presler, as I understand it, the real star of this election. Scott of Early Vote Action will be there doing what he does best, which is registering new Republican voters. Scott is amazing. Well, when Trump wins, Pennsylvania will largely have Scott's tireless efforts to thank. Buck Sexton is also expressing the fury of so many. Quote, no other country in the world would allow the systematic defrauding of its immigration system, then privilege the fraudster migrants over its own people in the distribution of resources to include emergency funding of natural disasters. The Boston Tea Party happened for less. DC Drano tweeted out, FEMA is basically asking for a bailout. They spent billions on illegal aliens for years. Then when actual Americans need help, they say, oops, we need more money. It's an open borders bailout. I say we don't give more money to FEMA and flood the Southeast states with emergency cash to help Tennessee and North Carolina. I trust red state governors to help more than I do DC bureaucrats. That's our Tea Party, by the way. That's our Tea Party right there. F FEMA. F-effing FEMA. Don't give them another dime. Let's flood the Southeast states with emergency cash through organizations like the Red Cross. It's Fox News has been pushing them on there. I think they have a QR code on their screen that you can donate to. Let's flood these regions with cash through private agencies so that red state governors will have immediate access to the funds rather than have to jump through all these ridiculous administrative and bureaucratic hoops from effing FEMA. That will be our Tea Party. That will be our uprising. But I can tell you there's another Tea Party happening here. There appears to be another very real uprising happening as we speak. There are very clear and ominous signs for Kamala for November, and I'm about to share it with you. You are going to absolutely Love this. But first, gang, if you are just joining us, remember, if you want to ask me your questions, because YouTube has decided to suspend our super chats and completely demonetize us, just click on that link below, join any one of our levels of support, and you can access our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them in the live stream. That's just go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support. You'll be given instant access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me your questions and I will answer them on this live stream. Also, it's no secret that our kids and our grandkids are under attack, and the desensitization of our children and grandchildren is a very apparent and indeed sinister tactic of the elites and globalists. I've said this before, gang. I'll say it again. The more easily we are controlled, the easier our minds and actions are manipulated. And the best way to begin controlling anyone is indoctrination at a very young age. Indoctrination into the woke ideologies that are tearing our nation and our world apart. Disney, the education department, public schools, TikTok, even freaking cartoons. Nowhere is safe for our kids today from the traumatic experiences that are a full frontal spiritual attack on their innocence, joy, minds, and souls. So that's why I've partnered with Remnant House Home Goods. Their mission is to make our children's lives holy and peaceful again. We need to do everything we possibly can to protect our children and grandchildren, cover them in the Word of God, the peace of safety, and the loving knowledge of grace. Remnant House has a great collection of children's items, from bed sheets with scriptures printed on them to teethers for babies. I mean, this is a company looking to make children's lives and bedtimes great again. So, gang, click that link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen and use promo code Turley. And at checkout, you'll be given a $10 coupon for the next time you buy. Buy these things for your kids, for your grandkids, for your neighbors' kids, heck, for strangers' kids. There is an attack on our children today, and we need to cover them literally in spiritual protection. So use promo code Turley at checkout and receive $10 off your next purchase. Click on that link below and protect the children in your life today. All right, gang, we may, in fact, be seeing the damage to Kamala's campaign as a result of this KATRINA-like disaster. CNN, of all places, I kid you not, CNN's own poll of polls is giving Trump now a 70% chance of winning this election. CNN. Let that hit you. Remember, at no point in 2020, at no point did Trump even come close to winning, according to CNN's projections. At no point. And again, remember, he did, in fact, come within 40,000 votes of pulling that off. Even with all the confidence and cheerleading and fanfare from Biden, from the legacy media in 2020, even with all the mail-in shenanigans, 70% of the country voting by mail, even with all that, Trump still came within 40,000 votes of doing the unthinkable as far as the legacy media and CNN are concerned. And now we're getting word that panic has started to set in among Democrats in the key swing state of Wisconsin. Take a look at this, gang. Their own internal polling, which, remember, is the most accurate polling. They spend tens of millions of dollars on it. Their own internal polling is showing that their incumbent senator, Tammy Baldwin, has fallen to within the margin of error with her Republican opponent. Quote, multiple Democrat sources told Axios that there are alarm bells ringing in the state, arguing the race is much tighter than what public polling has shown. So the recent Trafalgar poll, which had Trump leading in Wisconsin, also has the incumbent Democrat, this Tammy Baldwin, up by only 2 points. That's fully within the margin of error. In other words, it's tied. Now, to understand what's really happening here, what the lying legacy media will never tell their dwindling audience, there is no Republican equivalent of this panic. You've got to let that hit you if you want to understand the state of this race right now. There is no Republican equivalent to this panic. Right now, as we speak, there is no incumbent Republican senatorial candidate who is in danger of losing his or her seat. Not even not even close, not one. It's so bad. It's so bad for Democrat candidates, Democrat incumbents, that the lying legacy media has been reduced to, again, doing what they do best, fabricate the notion of a competitive Senate race in all places, Texas and Florida. Ted Cruz and Rick Scott. You actually have the legacy media out there right now trying to convince their rapidly dwindling, dumbed down audience, right? That's what MSNBC, that's what the MSNBC staff member said. Did you see that the other day? He blatantly called their audience dumb. This is the latest hidden camera hit from James O'Keefe Media. MSNBC staffer openly called their audience dumb. Well, they're desperately trying to convince their increasingly dumb audience that a Democrat, a no-name Democrat, is going to beat Ted Cruz in freaking Texas. That's how desperate these guys are to try to distract their audience from just how bad things really are for incumbent Democrats right now. The reality is there is no Republican equivalent to the panic the Democrats are experiencing right now. They're losing incumbent Senate seats all over the place. They're losing it in West Virginia. Joe Manchin abandoned that race. They're losing it in Montana. They're losing it in Ohio. Now it looks like they're losing it in Wisconsin. Remember, the fundamental problem for Democrats in this election cycle is that we no longer vote split ticket. If I recall, we haven't voted split ticket since the 2008 election for whatever reason. But there was one exception since then. It was in Maine, where voters split their vote between Biden. They voted for Biden for president. And they voted for their incumbent Republican senator, Susan Collins, for the Senate. But that really is the sole exception we've seen in 20 years. So if you've got states like Ohio, Montana, Wisconsin, all with Democrat incumbent senators, same with Arizona, by the way, if they're all poised to go Trump, then all the Democrats down ticket are by definition in trouble. Historically speaking, they are automatically vulnerable. Now, we could do a counter read of this data as well. We can actually apply some reverse analysis. This panic around holding on to the Democrat Senate seat in Wisconsin is even more relevant in terms of what it inadvertently reveals about the state of the presidential race in Wisconsin. Political analyst Seth Keshel pointed out that Baldwin won her first race in a landslide back in 2012. She ran just a little bit behind Obama. She won by 10 in her last election back in 2018. If she is now in a position to lose her seat, we can very safely assume that Trump is absolutely crushing Harris in Wisconsin. And that's the ball game, by the way. If he wins Wisconsin, it's over. If their incumbent Democrat senator, who won 2 blowout elections back to back, is in the fight of her life, teetering on defeat, you can be assured that Kamala is right now going down in flames. Remember, the hard part here is that Wisconsin is a very hard state to poll. Rich Barris always talks about this. It's perhaps the single hardest state to poll, largely because of it has a very dense rural population who simply don't respond to the polls, but they come out to vote. And so the polling tends not to be very predictive of how the election turns out. Remember, one of the pollsters had Biden up by 17 the week before the 2020 election. 17. He ended up winning the state by 20,000 votes. It came down to literally 0.1%. And that's the key. That's the key here. The polling always oversamples Democrats in Wisconsin. That's what I think the Democrats and this incumbent senator are so freaked out about. They know that. The polling always oversamples the voters in Wisconsin's urban areas to give them a skewed Democrat advantage. Ron Johnson, their current Republican senator, the very awesome MAGA senator, he always underpolls. And last time he was up for re-election, he was supposed to lose by like double. I think that was just 2022. He was supposed to lose by double digits. He ended up winning by 2. That's just the nature of Wisconsin polling. So if you have the Democrats in the Senate freaking out over their internal numbers that are far better than the Wisconsin polls at large, if they're freaking out over their incumbent senator losing, you can be sure Kamala is crashing in the Badger State. And as an implicit confirmation of that, it's I don't think it's a coincidence that Kamala's little rally that she held with Liz Cheney the other day in Wisconsin, probably the single most unpopular politician on the planet. You may have noticed that somebody didn't show up for that. It was a rally in Wisconsin, and hardly anybody showed up for it, too. I think they had to bus in people, supporters. But you may have noticed that a very prominent Wisconsin politician was not at that rally. And that was, of course, none other than Tammy Baldwin, Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's in the fight of her life to try to hold on to her seat. In other words, that was the very fact that she blew off Kamala is a very subtle confirmation that Kamala is absolutely pulling poison at this point, as is, of course, Liz Cheney. Moreover, now Axios is reporting that Democrat officials in neighboring Michigan are openly admitting that their state is slipping out of Harris's hands. Their own internal polling shows that Kamala is, in their words, underwater against Trump, which is another way of saying she's about 3 or 4 points behind. I mean, this is really freaking out the Kamala campaign because their entire ground game assumes they've got Michigan in the bag. States like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania become totally irrelevant if they lose Michigan. And again, it's over. If you don't know, given the electoral map, Harris has to win all 3 blue wall states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Trump only has to win 1, and it's over. She has to win all 3. She has to have a perfect sweep. Trump only needs 1. That's why, in many respects, we keep saying this is Trump's election to lose. It's just a math issue. He's in the most advantageous position to win. But if we get a little more granular here, we'll find Harris's polling average in Michigan is just about 2.7. That's all the polls averaged out. It's 2.7 right now. Biden's lead at this time in 2020, all the polls averaged out, was +8. Now, when it came to election day, he won Michigan by only 2.8, but that's a 5.1 polling miss. And remember, like we said, the polls are always miss in favor of the Democrat. They're always skewed in favor of the Democrat. So think about it. If you apply that margin miss, that 5.1 margin miss to the polls right now, to the Harris plus 2.7 in the polling average, what do you end up with? Well, you end up with Trump plus 2.4. Remarkably close to what Atlas Intel, the single most accurate pollster of 2020, has right now for Trump in Michigan. Atlas Intel has Trump up 3.4 in Michigan. They also have him up 3 in Pennsylvania, which corresponds perfectly to Trump's internal polls as well as Kamala's internal polls. Trump is up 3 in his own internal polls. Trump is up 4, apparently, in Kamala's internal polls. And Trump is up by 1.5 in Wisconsin. Again, that's why the Wisconsin Senate is starting to freak out right now. Again, precisely what we're seeing in these Democrat internals that have them all absolutely panicked. So we'll see how Kamala's KATRINA continues to impact her campaign. But as things stand and as the outrage continues to rightly accumulate, we may be looking back at this week of such tragic devastation as the beginning of the end for an even more devastating administration. Over to you guys. Over to you as Josh and Mike assemble your questions. Don't forget, you're just one click away from meeting Donald Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, all in one place. Oh, and me. That's right. They'll all be warming up the stage for yours truly, of course. Yes, we're all going to be in Orlando, Florida on October 10th and 11th for Public Square's Parallel Economy Conference. And it's your chance to meet up with me and enjoy an incredible event. We're all going to be taking our country back, and we're going to have a wonderful meetup together, and we're going to see firsthand this rise of a new parallel civilization dedicated to faith, family, and freedom. And here's the best part, gang. I've waived my own speaker's fee. I'm not getting paid for this at all. So I'm able to offer for you free tickets to the event. That's how much I want you to be there. So just click on the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen. Use promo code Turley, and you're going to get a $200 ticket absolutely, completely free. That means you could spend the money instead on travel and on lodging, whatever you like. So there's no admission fee at all for you. But please, gang, only serious inquiries, right? Only claim a ticket if you're serious about coming. This is going to be an event for dedicated patriots ready to make a difference in this nation and in the world. So click the link below, scan the QR code, use promo code Turley, grab your free ticket today. And I can't wait to see you in Orlando next week, where we're all going to have a front row seat at the rise of a new parallel civilization dedicated to faith, family, and freedom. All right, over to you. What kind of questions do we got? What do we got? Joshua, I think the strike was a setup by the Democrats to manufacture their own October surprise. Could this lose Trump the union vote? I think they'll let people starve for 2 weeks, and then Harris will make the port owners give them whatever they want. No, I don't know, Josh. I'm not seeing it. It's all over. It's done. It just ended. I don't know if you heard that. So the strike's over. They're not going to be doing anything until after the election. It just seemed in the end, it was a big nothing burger. So I'm not seeing it there. Now, I'm sure we're going to get other questions on this. That said, make no mistake, they are slow walking rescue efforts. They are slow walking getting infrastructure set back up again, so as to prevent these counties that were affected by the flood from the flooding to prevent them from voting, because they're primarily Republican voters. I have no doubt on that. I mean, either that or they are the single most incompetent people on the planet. I mean, it's just, take your pick. They're stupid or they're evil. Which one? Well, probably a combination of the two. RT Corp, Dr. Turley, how about a quick joke to start off? Potential names for Trump's new future cities: Jack Smith's Villa or Nancy Pelosi City. I love it. Nancy Pelosi City. I love it. Yeah, I could see it. I could see that. Yeah. So if you guys don't know, Trump is proposing super cities, a number of super cities. I'm assuming they're going to be in red states, and he didn't say where, but he's just, again, this is what he does. He helped build New York skyline that I grew up just outside of in Connecticut. He sees our cities falling apart. They're basically owned by Democrats, and he wants now independent cities dedicated to faith, family, and freedom, built anew. No seedy neighborhoods, no inner cities, where you just see vibrant, patriotic Americans existing in a new civilizational cosmopolitanism. I would love it. I would love to see it, and I would love to see Jack Smith's Villa or something like that, or Nancy Pelosi City. That would be hilarious. Chris, my husband is an 82nd Airborne vet, with Fort Bragg housing the 82nd, Special Forces and Delta Force with Pope Air Force Base right there. Why are they not doing food and water drops, let alone search and rescue? They're in North Carolina. Civilians are currently doing the search and rescue, so FEMA diverted their funds. We have the military who can drop Humvees and paratroopers from planes, and air assault teams that can drop from choppers in North Carolina. Why are they not being deployed? It's a great question, Chris. This is part of the outrage, the insanity of it all. I have to think it's, and more people are saying it. And of course, they're opening the door for this kind of conjecture. It's purposeful. They're slow walking the recovery efforts so as to make sure that, so as to minimize the amount of vote that comes out on election day. Again, I don't think it'll work. Nothing they do seems to work, but they are making their lives absolutely miserable, and people are suffering horrifically because of this very intentional incompetence. Wendy, have you heard about the truck stops in Tennessee, North Carolina? My brother's an owner operator, and costs to each one of these truckers is massive. There are theories that this was happening because of the strike. Any thoughts of that? I don't know. I do not know of the truck stops in Tennessee and North Carolina and its relation to the strike. Again, the strike seems to be over, so hopefully that will end it. But again, I think there's far more nefarious forces in play here other than just a dock strike. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, since AWOLs went down faster than Willie Brown's boxers. If you're new to this channel, you're going to love Rock Dog. He's one of our favorites. The debate, do you think this is a big reason why the Ebola virus is hitting the campaign trail for chlamydia and tampon? Timmy. Well, we'll see. Yes, they'll do anything and everything to try to steal this election. Obviously, they'll do anything and everything to try to divert our attention from their failings. I don't know. I cannot, again, all I can say is I don't trust anything from these guys. Like I said, the word diabolical keeps coming through my head. I don't trust anything from them. They are morally, they're moral reprobates at this point. I mean, they're so despicable. They're so disgusting in literally every way, mentally, morally, personally, optically. I mean, I just, and in the end, they're doing all of this. They're slow walking all of this. And 45% of the country is voting for them in the end because they hate us. They hate us, and they hate us to the very marrow of their bone. They've been taught to hate us. They think we're brown shirts reincarnate. That was intentional. It's called resentment politics. It was absolutely intentional. Our politicians learned decades ago that if they divided the population, resentment would never, ever end up being directed towards them. It'd always be deflected onto somebody else in the population. It's not the government. No, it's J6ers. It's not the establishment. No, it's those radical MAGA folk, those Christian nationalists. It's men. Toxic masculinity. So anyway. Kevin, Dr. Steve, could we please have a prayer for all the storm victims this morning? The lack of federal assistance raises questions of its own. I've heard that FEMA just doesn't have the funds. Also heard that a lot of FEMA funds have been diverted to immigration, transportation, right? We talk cards and support in general. Have you heard this as well? Yes, of course, Kevin. Yeah, we showed it. It's on their website. It's absolutely on their website. But let's all join in prayer for these victims. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, we all collectively lift up to you these every single person who is suffering and who's ravaged, who's lost their lives because of the damage, the flooding. Lord Jesus Christ, we ask that you will care for them and bless them in every way imaginable. Please bless us as a nation to be able to serve them, to be able to care and comfort them. And we do ask, Lord, that you will bless this November 5th and give President Trump the victory so as to overturn what we believe to be forces that seek our ill and not our well-being. We lift this all up to you in Christ's name. Amen. There we go, Kevin. Joe, I would like to send money to help the victims of Hurricane Helene. Who would you suggest? It's a good question. I haven't looked into that. When's the last time we've sent money for one of the disasters privately? I have to remember. I mean, Fox, for what it's worth, Fox is showing the Red Cross. It seems to me that might be a good default. But again, I don't know. I don't know if the Red Cross has gone woke. I don't. So I can't recommend it explicitly. But I would just go ahead and start there. Do your own research. Maybe you could check to see if there are some alternatives just in case they've gone woke. And then anybody in the comments, if you have some suggestions, but again, make sure you do your due diligence to check it out. Mevid Daloka, Steve, please tell me why the complete destruction of the Demo Dumas party, you guys are challenging my reading skills here, should not be the number one objective of the new Trump administration. What they're doing after the hurricane is as bad as Himmler's death camps. Yeah, wow. Yeah. I think we all feel your passion there. Right? Isn't that what Tampon Tin says? I'm passionate. That's what Politico tried to sell us on, and his wide eyes. The wide eyes shows Tim Walz's passion. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think they're irredeemable. I think our country is splitting apart. I mean, there's just no way around it. I mean, you have 40% of the country that sees that suffering and goes, who cares? Move on. Abortion. Yeah, that's 40% of our country. And the Democrats represent them. And they hate us. And they're demonstrating that hate. Again, what they're doing, the very bumbling of this response invites itself. I think it creates space precisely for us to think in those ways. Now, one comment there, Mevi. You've got to hold on to empathy. I know how hard that is. You've got to hold on to empathy. It's the one thing that separates us from them. So they're woke, and the woke by definition hate. They've lost all sympathy. They've lost all empathy. But the one thing we have to always be able to exemplify is a prayerful inclination towards the image of God within them. And we always have to be better, as it were, for lack of a better way of putting it. How about this? We have to be more humble. We have to humble ourselves more in recognizing the propensity within us for the evil we see. And I think that's very important, because that prevents us from being torn apart by this. Because remember, forgiveness is for the forgiver. Forgiveness is for the forgiver. We forgive so that we find healing in the midst of our pain. So what we're seeing is pretty horrific. No question. And what they're doing is horrific. And looking at MSNBC and the way they're cheerleading what's happening is horrific. But we have to remember there is a beautiful soul inside them that God loves and wants to redeem. And we have to see that. We have to. Even Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, Frodo feels tremendous empathy and sympathy for Gollum, and as does Gandalf. And Gandalf prophesies that, you know, that Gollum is going to be the one who ultimately resolves this. It's not going to be Frodo. It's Gollum. Gollum, however, inadvertently is going to save us. And he does. But ironically, by taking his evil to its ultimate ends. So if you know the books, or if you've seen the movie, Gollum bites off Frodo's ring finger. And grabs the ring, but he's doing it up on the cliffs above the fires of Mordor, and he falls with the ring into the fires of Mordor. And his own lust, his own obsession with the ring, his own covetousness ends up being the means by which lust, covetousness, obsession dies, because no one could throw the ring into the fire, not even Frodo. No one could throw the ring into the fire voluntarily. No one could destroy that evil voluntarily, because the evil had such a hold on their hearts. The only one who could ultimately destroy it is the one most consumed by it, ironically. So don't forget that. I just think that's important for all of us to remember. They will destroy themselves. That's what evil by its nature does. Evil is not a thing. Evil is corrosive. It's like a hole in a shirt. It's like rust on a car. Evil ultimately destroys itself. And we just have to keep this in prayer and do what we're called to do, to be faithful, and we'll prevail. We'll see this through. AN, why aren't we primarying all the rhinos who vote no for the SAVE Act? Then the rest need to go too. Yep, good question. Ask the RNC, find out who they are, and primary them. Get rid of them. Get rid of every single one of them. Terry, will North Carolina flip Democrat merely because no one will be able or willing to set up polling places in the stricken areas of the state, as Representative Greg Murphy worries about? If that were to happen, I think you'll have a civil war. I don't know what else to tell you. If that were to happen, I think you would have such a massive revolt against cackles and the adults in DC. I don't even know. I think their head would spin. I don't think so. Mike Whatley, who's the head of the RNC, he's a North Carolinian. He's responsible for turning North Carolina deep red into a super majority Republican legislature. And I don't think he's going to allow that to happen. They will find ways to get ballots in the hands of these people and returned. Now, I've also seen one site crunch the numbers and taking all the total of the regions affected, and it would not ultimately affect the result. It would obviously, if none of them could vote, it would hurt Trump, but not hurt him fatally, not hurt him in such a way where he would lose North Carolina. So, but we'll keep up on that. That'll be one of the things we'll keep an eye on. Bill, $61.3 billion in military assistance has been sent to Ukraine since Russia entered Ukraine on February 24, 2022. And we can't even send assistance to victims of Hurricane Helene. I did see an offering of $750 for victims, but how are people supposed to put their lives back together with $750? Signed, a pissed off patriot. Amen, Bill. Amen. No need for comment. My whole video was a comment on that. You're speaking. Your Patriot professor, as you can see, is very upset this morning. I can't hide it. I try to be all bubbly. Nope, can't do it. Can't do it. No, because I'm too human. I can't pretend things are good today. They're not. It's sad. What's happening in our nation right now at all levels is sad. It's sad to see what's happening in Western North Carolina, and Eastern Tennessee, and Georgia, and South Carolina, and parts of Virginia. It's sad. It's sad to see moms burying their kids. That's sad to me. And then to see half this nation not give a flying fuck about it is even sadder. To see a political party exploit this for their own benefit, slow walking assistance, so that maybe they have a chance of plucking off North Carolina, is sad to me. To see the borderline illiterates on MSNBC not give a flip about any of this. Actually, they seem to enjoy it. It's just sad. It's sad. It's maddening, but I'm sad. Because if there were ever any proof anyone needed that we literally are two countries in a single nation, and that there's literally nothing that even remotely binds us together anymore as a one people, here it is. Here it is. It's so sad. And a media, just a legacy media who could care less. They crucified Bush over this for less than this. So sad. Johnny the Whiz Kid. And finally, can you explain that Order 66 executive order again that Trump will do when he returns? Okay. Schedule F. It's called Schedule F. So it is it's the final executive order he issued in his first term as president. And what it would basically do is would take all of the employment insurances and buffers and protections that public workers have, and it would remove them. And it would remove them by reassigning them Schedule F status. And Schedule F status legally allows for termination in a far easier way than the contracts are set up right now in Washington, D.C., all across the bureaucracies. It's almost impossible to fire someone in a government bureaucracy, even as they just take a public school. They don't fire public school teachers. They just shuffle them around. They send them into different districts and the like. They don't fire them. It's almost impossible to fire a teacher. It's pretty much the same as just a general government worker, bureaucrat, unelected bureaucrat. Almost impossible to fire. Schedule F will restructure all contracts in such a way that enables their firing far easier. So there you go. And so we would see mass firings. Johnny the Wiz, because I also heard they're trying to get overseas votes with all non-citizen vote plus happening. I was wondering if the Electoral College would save the day. Maybe Trump lost popular votes from Hillary, but still won the election. Could the Supreme Court also get involved? Yeah, I mean, I've seen that as well. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on the shenanigans they're pulling there. I mean, the good news is we're seeing it. We're looking at it. So darkness hates light. So, but I know even Elon was a little concerned, like what's going on here. So we'll just have to, again, Congress is going to have to get involved. Republicans are going to have to get involved. I don't know if the Supreme Court will get involved. Maybe they will. I don't know. We'll have to see. Chip, how can anyone still support the Democrats of the most recent exposure of this misdirection of the FEMA funds? Because they hate you. Because they hate me. It's because they hate us. And they don't care. You're just going to have to let that hit you. They hate you, they hate me, and they don't care. And Kamala is a symbol of how much Kamala is a symbol of how much they hate us, and Kamala is a symbol of how much they hate America. America's racist, it's bigoted, it's phobic, it's unjust, and it deserves to pay for all its past sins. And we're here to make sure it does. That's basically what's going on. Franz, was Tuesday night emblematic of why the establishment does not want an opposition party? I guess so. I guess so. If you're talking about the great disaster, the debate disaster number 2, yeah. Opposition parties call out their BS, and again, remember, this is I even heard commentators, pundits on CNN say, this is the consequence of what happens when you coddle one side, when one side doesn't have to do tough interviews every single day like Trump and Vance have to do. If you coddle them, then when you put them in the lion's den, they don't know what to do. They freak out. They look like a deer in the headlights, quite literally. So, but yes, you're right. There will always be an opposition party, Franz. Don't you worry about that. Always. Even if we are, we just had to rely solely on the parallel economy as the resistance. There was a resistance party under the communist regime in Eastern Europe. Again, it was the people. It was the parallel police. It was the underground movement. We'll resist. We'll always resist. We will never bend a knee to this tyranny, ever. It's never going to happen. I promise you, 100 million Americans will not do it. We will not follow suit. Johnny, 3, if I may, first InfoWars confirmed with citizens that North Carolina citizens are being blocked from any aid and allowing genocide with their inactions, so they can't vote. How will they be able to vote? We can't let the feds get away with this. Yeah, John, no, I mean, obviously, get involved. Call up your congressman. Say, what the hell are they doing? What's going on here? Get to the bottom of it. Absolutely. No, I'm with you 1,000%. We have to stand up and say we're not going to allow this to happen. So start with your leaders, and then go to like Early Vote Action. Go to Scott Pressler's organization. See, what are you hearing on the ground? Because they're a national organization. They're there in North Carolina. What are you hearing on the ground? What can we do to make sure these people are taken care of, and that we don't have this default disenfranchisement from our democratic process. Miss Magnolia, 1978, Georgia. I'm very disappointed Melania has chosen to reveal her radical position on abortion, especially at this time. Do you think this could be damaging to Trump with Christians? Unfortunately, I have lost a lot of respect for her and fear she could influence Trump. No, I'm with you. Of course, I'm very disappointed. I understood she was a conservative Catholic, and as a conservative Catholic, by definition, or as a faithful Catholic, as a baptized, catechized Catholic, you are not allowed to be pro-choice. Period. End of discussion. Any Catholic bishop will tell you that in a heartbeat. You're not allowed to be pro-choice. You must be pro-life, or you are committing mortal sin. So, as I understand it, I'm not a Catholic. I'm Orthodox, but so yeah, I know I was very disappointed on that and that as well. But no, a first lady is not a determiner of who people vote for, and Trump did the amazing. He did the ultimate. He overturned Roe v. Wade. So if pro-lifers turn against him now, then they only have themselves to blame. I mean, they can ask themselves. They can look in the mirror when they need to ask, why does God have his people walk 40 years in the wilderness? God used Trump to overturn Roe v. Wade. God spared Trump's life on J13, and then you're going to turn around and not vote for him? You deserve your desert, gang. If that's where you're going, you deserve your desert. I got nothing to do with you. That's a Christianity I don't know nothing about. Vaughn, Dr. Steve, on a civilizational level, what happens now? Where do we go from here now that we all know they hate us. Yeah, it's a good. Well, that's. I mean, again, we'll be talking a lot about that in Orlando. So definitely, Vaughn, let's get together there. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to think about. I mean, my default response to that is it's already happening. A new world is rising, and the question is how do we navigate this new world as it intersects with the old, dying, decaying, morally decrepit one that still holds so much power in what's called a post-normal lag. We saw it even in Eastern Europe, where Central and Eastern European nations, particularly Poland, continued to vote in communists for the next 10 years because that was just the structures that were in place. Nobody really believed in it anymore, but they couldn't think of politics outside of those frames of reference. And we're in a post-normal lag right now. With our own institutions. So I think it's going to be a good question. How do we thrive in the midst of intersecting with so much rot? How does the renewal, maybe that's a nice way of putting it, how does the renewal thrive in the midst of so much rot? And I have to think about that one. I do. I'll have to do a little research on that in terms of how it has thrived. I mean, my initial response would be it is largely through community, in our case, both online, our network communities, as well as local flesh and blood, regional communities. So for a lot of us, it might be we just all have to, if we're in blue states, just get the hell out of blue states. Just move to a good deep red state. And then we're going to have to rely and put in governors and leaders who intentionally erect legal and administrative walls between the people and the dying blue state world, because they're the ones that they have to import voters. They're literally dying. They're literally imploding blue state America. We saw Greg Abbott, to his credit, doing that with the wall and border security. And when even the Supreme Court said, you got to stop, he said, make me. It's my job as governor to protect my citizens, and I'm going to do it. Ron DeSantis has been doing it. It's been doing a stellar job telling the CDC to stuff it up their ass when it comes to the citizens of Florida. In fact, they have their own attorney general. And nothing the CDC or an attorney general in D.C., nothing that they pass or recommend comes anywhere near Florida apart from the approval of the governor and his attorney general and their own committee that they have as well. So that's what we're going to need. We're going to need a whole culture of nullification that basically tells DC, let's see you, and you made your laws, let's see you enforce them. Because none of us know. Our court systems, our legislatures, our governors, our towns, our cities we're not obeying. It's that simple. So I think it's going to be something akin to a mass resistance like that. Michael, hi, Steve. You should consider bringing Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers on your show. Geeks and Gamers is a YouTube channel and small business that discusses movies, video games, sports from a conservative perspective and calls out the wokeness in entertainment. I think it's important for more conservatives to take a greater interest in the culture and get serious about promoting conservative values in entertainment. Absolutely, Michael. Yeah, Josh, if you can just take note of Geeks and Gamers, Josh or Micah, and then maybe let's follow up to get in touch with them. I'd love to do that. Terry, I'm very much afraid that Virginia will prove the exception to the no ticket splitting rule. Captain Hung Kao is getting bad advice and is not campaigning appropriately. He will lose even though Trump carries the state. What am I missing? I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question, Terry. Yeah, we may. We'll have to see. Virginia is an enigma right now. Trump should not be winning Virginia. Virginia is an enigma. Okay. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania are not enigmas. Virginia's an enigma. He should not be winning, and he is. It's stunning. It's happening right now. Our by the way, just to our last one, our moderator Josh says he does watch them sometimes, the gaming channel. So that's very cool. So I don't know how Hung Kao, I thought did brilliantly in the debate. He was wonderful. I think he made what's his name look ridiculous. We'll see. We'll see if it could pull it. So we may see a split ticket there, but we would see a split ticket only because no one even imagined that that Trump would come close to winning Virginia. Again, if Trump is winning Virginia, Hung Kao may pull this off. Because again, we don't split ticket. So you're trusting the polls, and the polls are one field of data. It's one data set. You got to look at the early voting, and you got to look at and the voter registration and voter identification. And right now, based on the early voting, Hung Kao is probably winning. Hung Kao is probably winning because I doubt very highly they're voting Trump, and then they're going to go and vote Tim Kaine, and they're going to turn around and vote Tim Kaine. I doubt that very, very highly, but we'll see. Patriot Jules, Dr. Steve. I watched it since 16, I believe. I watched in your car, saddened. Worse than Thanksgiving last year. What trigged your mind in that car video? Know that you don't regret it, but tell us, what was really going through your head? You were holding back. No need any longer. Dang, which car video now, Patriot Jules? I don't. Josh or Micah, do you know which? What was the subject? What was I talking about? In there, I don't know, Patriot. You're gonna, Jules. You're gonna have to be. Josh said, I don't know. I can look for it though. Yeah, you just have to be. You're gonna have to be clearer. I don't. I did so many videos, as you know. I mean, literally thousands. So it all blurs. Thanks, Patriot Jules. Thank you for watching since 2016. That's crazy. It's awesome. We've been on quite the journey together. Kevin, I hear the Red Cross overhead costs and actual distribution of funds has serious issues. Supposedly Samaritan's Purse. Of course. Trump was there with Franklin Graham. How did I forget? That's just, again, it's your Patriot professor's dumb little mind there. Samaritan's Purse is a better record for actually getting more of the donations to the public. Have you heard anything that could confirm or counter this? Yes, I've donated to Samaritan's Purse. I couldn't recommend them more. They're wonderful. I love Franklin Graham's organization. Of course, Samaritan's Purse would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Kevin, for that. Thank you. Your absent-minded professor forgets that. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, do you think Mark Robinson's response to the disaster and his burn injuries while personally assisting in a rescue will overshadow the left so-called scandal, and it will win the North Carolina governor's race? I hope so. Again, we don't tend to split. Although governors' races are different. Governors' races, people will vote one way federally, but different statewide. They don't split with Senate races, but they could split with a governor's race. We'll see. I mean, you got rocked hard, no question. They play sleazeball, man. They play by very different rules. So hopefully, yeah. Because I'd vote for Mark Robinson in a heartbeat, no problem. Rock Corp, Dr. Thoroughly, hurricane season isn't over. Hurricane Kirk is on its way. What do you think the Harris campaign's response will be this time? And what do you think the response will be if the hurricane hits somewhere like Pennsylvania? Yeah, right. Hint. Yeah. Same thing. I think they'll slow walk it. I think, again, because they've got the media in their pocket. So the synopticon that paints reality, objective reality for us is in their pocket. So they feel like they can get away literally with anything. Now, it's not. That's the good news. It's not. But I think they'll do the same thing. Again, I don't think the public will stand for it. I honestly don't. I think everybody sees it. I mean, again, you've got that 40% and then 5%, 5 or 6% idiots who just go along with them, sheep who go along with the 40%. That 40% will, but I think there is a 55% that will say no way. This is wrong, and we see it. And that's it, gang. All right, pray for everyone who's been affected. Samaritan's Purse, if I could recommend one, that would be wonderful to donate to. Just check them out, do your own due diligence. But anyway, keep them all in prayer. Let's keep going, gang. I love you all. God bless.